Hello and welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes. And today we have a very special guest, Lakmal, from the wonderful Ballerina team. And I'm super excited to have you on the show. I'm really interested in all cloud native programming languages, this new paradigm getting, beyond YAML to torture Kubernetes. So hello and welcome, Lakmal. How are you doing?
Hi, Michael. Welcome. Thank you for the invite to the Behind the Scene.
Awesome. Great to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where do you come from? What's your background? What have you been up to?
Yeah. So I mainly work on the DevOps for last 15 years. And I'm currently working at WSO2 as a cloud architect. So mainly I have working on the operation and the cloud and mainly the containers, orchestration system like Puppet, Docker, Kubernetes. So all the mainly the DevOps angle.
Okay. So we're going to talk about Ballerina, right? So what is Ballerina?
Yeah. So Ballerina is a cloud-native programming language. It is compiled, type-shaped, concurrent, Turing complete, full page. So it has first-class support for the microservices, endpoint, and a lot of resiliency like circuit breaker, retry, or load balancing, and some data types like JSON. All come under first-class support in the Ballerina language. So I will talk about why we call I would say architecture around it means like you can directly deploy Ballerina program into Docker or Kubernetes while compiling the program.
Okay.
So it's a full-fledged programming language.
So before we get into it, what would be my motivation? Like, imagine I'm a Kubernetes user or developer, whatever, and I'm a YAML engineer, right? So all day long I'm editing YAML files and do kubectl apply and whatnot. Why would I bother to even look at Ballerina? Why would I do that? Why would I want to do that?
Yes, exactly. So when you look at the current application lifecycle, so developer will write the application, like then they will build the binaries, then they create the Docker files to build the Docker images, then they will write the Kubernetes YAML for deployment services. They have to create these YAMLs manually, or have to use some different tools, and then they need to deploy this into the Kubernetes. So if you look at that, the flow is disrupting the developer's flow. So developer has to go away from their development tool, mainly like IDEs, and they have to use different tools to generate these Docker files, Docker images, and YAML files. So when you come to the Ballerina, so Ballerina has this compile extension. So from the compile extension, create like a deployment artifact like Docker images, Kubernetes YAMLs, while building the application itself. So then from the developer's perspective, they no need to manually write these descriptors or YAML files. They can just focus on their application development, and Ballerina generate all these artifacts, and it will easy to deploy on top of Kubernetes like orchestration systems.
Wow, that sounds awesome. Cool. Do you think it would be actually possible to see that in action? Like, could you do a screen share and actually show us something? Sorry that I just kind of jump on that, but I really love to see that.
Yes, I will demonstrate how you can do like a Ballerina, maybe start at hello world, and then we'll deploy it into the Kubernetes.
Awesome. Let's do that. Yeah, cool.
And also one thing to explain. So also Ballerina is like is specialized in the integrations. Like if you look at the modern applications, if you look at the 15 years back, so we wrote like standalone applications. Like then there's a few network calls involved with our application. But the current modern applications, we have to have connect with different APIs, different endpoints, different SaaS APIs, SaaS endpoints, for different devices. Even if IoT is popular, every device can be programmable endpoint. So if you look at the current application development, it requires a lot of network communication. Then so when you create an application, we have to integrate all these other endpoints to make a usable application. Then the network resilience is a main part of our application now. So all these things like burn into the language itself and make it developer life easier to develop microservice, and then they can easily deploy into the Kubernetes kind of systems.
Got it.
So let me share my screen.
Right. Let's.
Okay.
Yep, I can see that.
Okay.
Can you maybe enlarge the font a little bit? Just,
Font?
Yeah, just enlarge it a little bit. Yeah, cool, perfect, awesome. Thank you.
Fine. Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with the empty file. Basically, I will call it demo.bal. Right. So I'm using VS Code.
Good choice. Good choice. Yeah. Yeah. I like it already.
Okay. Cool. So I have set up my screen below. I have two shell commands to demonstrate some functionality. So I have installed latest Ballerina release is 0.9810 release. So Ballerina has comes with the services come as a first class support. So I will going to create a service I'm going to create a HTTP service basically. So I will import HTTP library. It comes under the Ballerina. So I'm going to.
Can I quickly interrupt you right here? So
sure.
You're using VS Code, which is, as I said, great. And it looks like you have some kind of, is there like a plugin or some, like it seems like to pick up what you're doing there. So it seems to know .all.
Yes. So we have VS Code plugin, VSI plugin. So with each release, we are releasing via Ballerina VSI plugin as well as the IDEA plugins. So anyone, developer can just install it into their IDE. It will do the code completion and all the suggestions within the IDE itself.
Wow, that's awesome. Obviously, now the next question would be, does that also exist for VI or Emacs for whoever cares?
We had a VI plugin mainly for the syntax highlighting.
Cool.
But I'm not sure whether it's currently maintaining. It's a community maintaining.
Right.
I also use VI plugin. Yeah.
Right.
It's open source. Yeah.
Exactly. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I just imported the Ballerina HTTP library. So here now, Ballerina's service is the first class. So you just saw that. So when I just type few words in the service, it will auto completion for the full service notation. So here you can see service come with the service, and we can give a name. So I will make it. We change the name to the hello. So I'm going to do the hello world sample first. And now service. Yes.
Sorry for interrupting you, but it's so exciting. I can't hold back. I see a HTTP service. Could I also replace that with gRPC?
Yes, we support the gRPC, JMX, different protocols, services.
Awesome.
Yeah, we
Awesome.
can use the gRPC.
Cool. Cool.
I will show you. We have tons of the helper materials, tutorials, examples with different protocols as well as different functionality.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so and service can have multiple resources. So here is come as a single resource in this template. So I will change it to the resource called hi. Now within the resource, you can see there's a two parameters. One is the endpoint called caller, that is who can call this service, and next one is it can also pass the requests that come under the this resource. So as a hello world, I will for the initial I will set the response and send it back to the caller. That's the hello world. So I can use the HTTP response and res, and I can set the payload, like I say, hello world.
So
for the
just to see if I got that right, if I would want to write an echo service, I could actually take, and it says like I would say hello, and it the thing would be it would echo whatever I put in there. So I could use the request object or resource or whatever and put that back into the response.
Yes. Right. Yeah. So so I will show you that how we can deal with the request in an example. So here I just without getting any request here, I just set the response first, and then I will come to the request, how to handle the request parameter, how I can change.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. So then so I have set the response. I can just call the call endpoint, and here you can see I'm using arrow notation. So I use the rest here. I will explain what is this difference to arrow notation. So here, so Ballerina syntactically give the developers to, I'm going to do now remote call. So it is a local call, it is a dot notation, like in-memory call. So here, this is a network call.
I see.
Syntactically differentiate between the local call and the network call.
Okay, so local would be in the context of the server. So res.setPayload would be in the context of wherever the Ballerina server or service or whatever is running. And caller would be on the callee or the remote side.
Yes, remote side. And also here, so Ballerina, so the one fundamental this design principle is that to minimize the developer's mistake when you're doing the programming. So here you can see, so this caller method of the function, it return a response. So we have to handle that response, or or we can just ignore it by passing to the underscore. But so here the motivation behind is that, so if there are response coming back from a particular function, either developer needs to be explicitly handle it, or we can ignore it. Okay, so now so we have set the response and send it back to the caller. Now when you're writing a service, now to call this service, we need to bind a particular port. So Ballerina can, so here for example, I will bind this service into a particular port using inline binding. I can just bind inlinely for the service to the port, say 9090.
Got it.
Okay, I think we are fine now. So we can either build Ballerina and run it, or we can just run the Ballerina like the Ballerina run command, like the go run.
Yep.
So we can use Ballerina run, I can give you the source file. If I run it, so it will compile and run it. And then next thing I will use the curl command to, I'm going to curl this service by using curl. So here my service is running HTTP localhost 1990. Now, so by default, so I have set the my service name called hello and my resource name called hi. So since I have not set the path explicitly, so I have to call use hello and hi as the path variable.
Cool. Yeah, that is a very sensible default. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So now I just run it. So it's print out hello world.
And what happens behind the scenes? So, okay, I have a Ballerina run, but what exactly, like how does that relate to Kubernetes? Where does Kubernetes play into that at all?
Yes. Really yeah. So this is the first hello world. So there's no Kubernetes involved. This one.
Okay. Okay.
I will come to that in a few minutes.
Okay.
Give me like 5 minutes. Sure. I will come to that. Before I come to that, I want to like explain another few things in the Ballerina by default. So now like earlier question is how we can like alter, or I can get the request and do some alternation and send it back to the hello world. So let's try to do that first, and then we'll come to the Kubernetes. Okay, so now Ballerina, so we can change our service configuration or even the resource configuration using annotation. So Ballerina comes with default HTTP annotation. So here I'm going to use service using HTTP service config annotation. So you can see there are a bunch of functionality you can use within this annotation. I will change the base path to /. Now I can just call my service using root.
Right.
Yeah, /i, yes. And also I want to change my resource. Oh, sorry. So I want to change my resource by say service resource config annotation. So now say if I want to, there's multiple options. If I want to like I want to change the path to this one also root, then I just call the port 9090. It can access. Now how can you want to set the method to the post?
Okay. So you would then do a curl post on localhost 9090 / and you would essentially get hello world.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Now rather like just send in the response back. Just do some just get the resource and request and set the response back. So I will define the string call maybe payload say request dot get payload as string.
Nice. So I don't even need to screw around with any kind of post thing. It parses it out to me and directly gives me. Nice.
Yeah, that's it is native to understand all the HTTP request, response, all things.
Cool.
And also you can see there's a red underline. So because of this request can be either return string or error. This union type.
Right. Cool.
So either we developer explicitly handle the error, or for this scenario I just pass by using check keyword. It will pass to the next level of this error.
Got it. So it's a bit like in Go where you get the last parameter would be the error, and then you would say if error not equals null, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Got it. So when we develop the Ballerina, we look at all the programming language out there, and we put all the good things from all the programming languages and make it super easy to developers, to powerful to developers, reduce the mistake that they are doing in the development. So that's what the one of the motivation behind the language itself.
I like the fact that you're referring to error handling in Go as one of the good features. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, so I just set the payload string from the request, and I can set hello, say set the payload here. Okay, now even now there's a yellow underline, yet red underline. So because Ballerina come by security by default. So here we are going to pass some sensitive payload into the response. So now either user have to be explicitly pass it, you can untaint it and pass it, or we can do some checking and then pass it.
Okay.
So again, the motivation is reduce developers' mistakes here.
Right. So essentially strongly typed, and you're playing it safe here, but you can essentially say, you know what, I don't really care. Like, you know, I just take it as it is.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I will do another small change to here. Rather, I'm using the inline port binding. I can define the endpoint. So Ballerina endpoint is the first class. Like we can do the. I will explain why we are going to use a separate endpoint object here. So I just create the HTTP listener endpoint and listen to port 9090. Yep. And I can just bind it to my listener here.
Got
it.
I
have defined separate endpoint, and I bind my service to that endpoint. Okay. Now, if I do the same by the run, so it will compile and run. Now, rather, okay, just if you look at if you use the current curl, it should not work because it has
sure.
path now. If just type it, it gets okay. There's no machine resource path found. And now if you change the path, again it's not work because of there's no method allowed. So we have changed post. Now let's make it post code.
Right.
And we pass some payload.
Yep.
Hello again, Ballerina. So we are passing hello and Ballerina. Okay. If I run that, so it will get the payload.
Nice.
Okay. So this is how you can write the code, simple codes. Now let's look at how you can deploy it into the Docker and Kubernetes.
Right.
Okay. So to do that, so before going to just do that, so I will just show you another few fun things. So Ballerina comes with the this call. It can generate graphical interpretation of your program.
Awesome.
So in this case, it has a caller and there's a service, there's a request coming, and we are doing some changes here and send it back to you. So when you're writing all the complex program, this image will be changed. It's dynamically changing.
Wow.
This is like yeah. So the motivation behind to provide this sequence diagram is, so as a WSO2 we have worked thousands of integration problems last 13 years. So whenever we go to the customer location, when you want to explain some logic with the integration logic, we are drawing sequence diagram on the whiteboard. And also when you write some code, even the newcomers come to the company, they can't understand. They can, but it is hard to understand by going to the code, text code. But now if you can generate this sequence diagram, it is easy to understand the logic.
That's super useful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's the motivation.
Cool.
Okay. Let's go to the Kubernetes samples. now, so I want to deploy this into the Kubernetes. So simple hello world, but let's see how you can do deployment. So Ballerina comes with Ballerina X repository, that is extension.
Right.
So under that, we can have Docker and Kubernetes. So we can have the Docker. I'm going to using Kubernetes in this sample.
Yeah, good choice.
I just import. Yeah. Okay. So now, if you look at if you anyone know the Kubernetes now, when you want to deploy this in Kubernetes, first we have to generate the binary, then we have to create Docker file to create the Docker images. We have to create the maybe deployment YAML and then the service YAML to access the deployment. Okay. Rather doing all of these things, I can just use the annotation Kubernetes deployment annotation. Right. I can set the name, say hello world.
Right. And can I ask you there, sorry to interrupt you all over again, but I think it's important to directly address these questions so that we don't forget anything. This is now kind of hard-coded in my demo.dal file. But if I want to parameterize that, I say, I don't want to hard-code the namespace, for example. Name is okay, but I don't want to, prescribe in which namespace this should be deployed. I want to do that, provide that at runtime or at deploy time.
Yes.
That would be possible?
Yeah, it's also possible. So Ballerina has the config APIs. So you can read values from the environment variable or in config files. So if you make it the namespace readable from the config APIs, you can pass it into the build system, all this namespace or the replica count or all these things. Then you can, so for example, so at the moment this support all this functionality. So any of them we can pass via the config APIs. Then it will read from the environment variables. Then we can do the CI/CD build system to build different YAMLs.
Awesome.
Okay. So now I just put the name as a hello world. So that's enough for my demonstration. I'm not doing any liveness probe or any other things. Or even replica count. I can put. Now, so this will create the Kubernetes deployment YAML as well as the Docker images. Since I have not set the Docker image name, so I can set the Docker image name here. Image name. Or if I not set the image name, it will get the my hello service name as a Docker image name and build the document by default.
And how does Ballerina figure out where to put the resulting image? How do you, or what's the default for the registry?
Default is to look for the local Docker daemon, but even you can set it out different Docker host machine. It will connect to that Docker host and build the Docker images.
Okay, and if I want to, let's say, for example, I want to, I have my container images typically or usually always on Quay.io, right? So how can I tell Ballerina, hey, if you produce an image here, please put it into my Quay.io?
Yeah, so if you look at Docker host and the third path, it will connect to that credentials to different Docker hosts.
Okay, so Docker host is essentially the concept of the container registry.
Yes, exactly.
Got it.
Okay, now I want to access this using Kubernetes services. So to do that, here the Ballerina endpoint will do the listening part. So that means I can use the annotated Ballerina endpoint using Kubernetes service in this case. So I can give the name, It's not mandatory, but I'll give the name. Hello, say world. And also, since I want to access this using a node port, I can set the service type is node port.
Nice. And I have seen the ingress as well there. So if you have an ingress
Yes.
controller installed, I guess also.
Yeah. Yeah, you can access via the ingress as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Nice.
Okay. I think we are done with the coding. So it's like adding 2 lines of code to my program. Now, so if you look at here, so it doesn't have any Kubernetes artifact under under my folder.
Yep. That's the part where the magician says, "Look, my head is empty, right? Nothing in it."
Okay, I just use the Ballerina. Here I'm going to use Ballerina build command rather run command. So Ballerina build, and I give the source file.
Yep.
Now, if I do that, it will generate all the Kubernetes services, deployment, and Docker files.
Okay, I see.
If we go to the Kubernetes directory, say you can see it has generated 2 YAML files, deployment and service YAML file, and Docker file. If I go to the demo deployment, so it has all the configuration we did at the end of the service. Okay, let's try to deploy it using so it has also printed the line.
Yeah, I've seen the apply.
I just the ctl
kubectl apply.
Apply -f Kubernetes.
Boom.
Okay, now it's already deployed. So the ports. So you can see hello world pod is running.
Awesome.
And if I go to the kubectl get service, you can see hello world service is running using the node port type. So here's the node port. So I can just use this node port. I can use the same command, but rather changing the code because of the node port. That's all.
Awesome. Wow. This is amazing. Lakmal, I'm really flattened here. That's really amazing. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's like a very so that's what even our motivation. So like I said, so we don't want to disrupt the developers flow here. So
right.
Same tool, same IDE, they can deploy it into Kubernetes, they can test it. So it's like a very powerful come to the developer's experience.
Right. This is amazing. So let me think about that. Like, I'm a Kubernetes developer, so I'm developing apps for Kubernetes, and I want to get into, like, I subscribe to that, right? I really want to start using Ballerina. This is a great start. I totally get it. And as you've seen, that most of the stuff was kind of like so obvious to me that I could immediately guess purely from looking over your shoulder to what's going on, what would be the expected outcome. Taking it beyond that for some real world deployment, real world application, what would be the next step? What would you advise our viewers out there beyond that, beyond what you've just seen? I'm going to install Ballerina, I'm going to do that. What's next? What should I have a look at? Any other next steps? Do you have stuff up on Katacoda or Udemy or any resources? What are the next steps beyond this Hello World?
Yes. Yeah. So so Ballerina has the ballerina.io. So it's got the tons of material of learning materials. So philosophy page explain all the philosophy behind why we create new programming language, like so what problem we are going to solve, what are the language designs principles we deal with, and then how Ballerina works behind the scenes, and what are features, so cool. How the workers handling, concurrency, and stream, transaction, all these handlings. And also like if you go to the learning material, there's two main learning materials. One is Ballerina by examples. It has the I would say hundred of examples like IO, database, security, flow control, error handling, testing, objects, HTTP libraries, WebSocket code, gRPC, JMS, resiliency. All things are come under the examples. And one more thing. So if you look at if you want to look at the full guide to develop Ballerina in production grade, so there's a we call Ballerina by guide. So if you look at there's a bunch of guides over here. If you look at one of this guide, it 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 come under is explain so how the developer how you can do the testing and how you can like do the deployment. All are in the one guide explaining end-to-end testing, the deployment, all aspects.
Awesome. Wow. So we are almost on top of the hour or the time frame. But I do have another 2 or 3 questions if you still have a few minutes. I'm super interested in
sure.
To learn. Like I get totally what this is about, how it works, roughly. Now, in any kind of real world setup, what I would expect as well is some kind of let's call it observability story. So, maybe Prometheus integration,
yes.
Or like, what is your, like, how is Ballerina's approach to this kind of observability? How do I get insights, how
yes.
the calls have succeeded or not, or metrics or all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So Ballerina come as the observability as a default. For example, so Prometheus integration is out of the box. So Ballerina runtime has it supports open tracing specification. So it by default it collect all the stat metrics, and there's an endpoint to the Prometheus to pull all this stat from the runtime. So observability also built into the Ballerina, right? So if you look at the observability, so it has all the integration with the all the Prometheus, gig, all things are integrated into the runtime.
Wow, that is super impressive. I was hoping for, but that's beyond my expectations. That's awesome.
Yeah. And one more thing. So Ballerina come with the inbuilt package management. Like there's a concept called Ballerina Central. If you look at the Central, so any community can develop their own packages or connectors. They can upload into the Central.
Got it.
Like a Docker Hub.
Yep, I see the business model.
So, for example, yeah.
Cool.
It's full ecosystem. Yeah.
Wow. So I did notice at KubeCon in Copenhagen earlier this year, you had a stand there. Ballerina was very prominent and super busy. There were people all the time. Honestly, it was so busy I didn't even bother to queue and wait there. I thought, I'd find other ways to reach out to you. Where is it heading? How is the community doing? How is it like from a governance setup? So like I take it's open source. Like if I want to contribute, I see, my favorite, let's take the VI example, right? My favorite editor is not yet fully supported, or I want to contribute. How is the whole open source governance thing set up? Can you talk a little bit?
So Ballerina is like a fully open source project. So we launched Ballerina as a go-to-market event in the Copenhagen KubeCon. So we had spent 3 years. We had the sense to develop language or the materials. Now I think we have more than 200 plus developers From WSO2, we have 40 developers, full-time developers working on Ballerina, but we have now 200 plus developers. So it is fully open source under Apache 2 license, and we are working with different ecosystem partners. We are working with the STO for STO integration, with different serverless functionality partners. So basically, and also we want to move into the CNCF. We can go into the umbrella and to the like a CNCF governance model.
Yeah, that was exactly my next question in terms of where is it heading in terms of CNCF as well. You might not know, but I'm a CNCF ambassador, and always trying to see what the next projects might be. And okay, that's really great to know. Awesome. Any last words? Anything you want to share with our
yes. Yeah. So basically, so I very well welcome. So if you can time to contribute to the VI plugin, Ballerina. So so we want to fully engage with the community. So all things are in on open model. All the code in the GitHub, all the issues in the GitHub issues. We have open mailing list, all the technical discussions, all the strategic discussion on Ballerina itself, discussing within the community. So we welcome all community developers to join with our effort, make it a more powerful developer for the next generation. So make it empower developer again. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, Lakmal, thank you so much. This was really, as I said, more than I was hoping for. It was very, exciting and cool for me to see all these different aspects of how you can develop locally. You can develop and deploy against an existing Kubernetes cluster with just a few, essentially just 2 or 3 lines annotation saying like, hey, deploy that to Kubernetes. And I think we have now established a basis for people to, they understand now, at least I do, what this is about. And let's just take it from there and see that people give it a try and start contributing, using and contributing.
Yeah, thank you, Michael, for the opportunity to talk with you and present it, Ballerina.
Okay, thanks a lot.